Greetings my friends, and welcome to my second tip vid, Easy Charm Cuff. And this short video really concentrates on adding embellishments to the clay bracelets. I'm using the 1/2 inch size today because I like the little ones with the dangles. And we're going to start with our Sculpey Premo white gold glitter. I've got a 14-inch strip here, and I started with this so that I can fold it in half, still have plenty of clearance on the metal form. And it's on the thickest setting of my machine, which is a number 1. And I'm going to have plenty of clay here to squeeze down on a little bit without it getting too thin. So that's why I recommend the double layers of thickness, and you'll see how that works out. So this one's going to be trimmed up, and I'll do that by using my EasyCuff Lucite template in the 1/2 inch, and that matches, of course, the metal cuff that we're going to bake it on. I'm going to take my blade, make a clean cut on the edge. You don't want to angle your blade inward. It should be level with the Lucite template. I'm going to put it on my form, and I've got a little clearance at each end, and that allows you to, not have to worry about squeezing it onto the edge there. Those templates are 8 1/4 inches long. I have them that long so you can make bangles with them. So that's the standard bangle length, and now you can make bangles or cuffs and not have to buy 2 templates. That was my thinking there. And that's why they're not the same length as the cuffs. Anyway, they are the same width that match the forms, and that's really what you're needing them for. So I've got my trimming done. I'm going to take my Sculpey Etch and Pearl tools. I used to always be searching through pens and stuff trying to find this little Cheerio shape, but I got these Etch and Pearl tools, and now they make that for me. And you'll see later on that these little circles, when you make a dot in the center of them, form a little bezel to hold our pointy back rhinestones, and it's kind of an easy way to get them to stay down, not pop off. I'm using my ball stylus to just put a little interest in that negative space. I think this bracelet would have been pretty with some like acrylic paint antiquing and stuff, but that sort of wasn't the point today, so I didn't do it. So you see in the middle of each of those Sculpey Etch and Pearl indentations, I'm putting a centered hole, and that's to form that little circle bezel around my pointy back rhinestones. See how clever I am? At least I think so, right? Okay, so now when I poke them down in there, they have that little circle around them. It looks really cute. Plus, they're a little bit, for me, a little more secure than just a flat back one that just begs to pop off. And we're going to glue them in afterwards. I settle them there because I want to get them just the way I want them. I can bake it, and then put them back in afterwards, and I'll show you. So the heat of your hands is most likely going to squeeze out a little bit from handling it. So you just want to trim it one more time. And then we can add our dangles. So our dangles are starting out with just being a loop to hold them. Got a couple choices on these loops. You can poke them in like we're going to today, and then add a dab of glue later on. Just pull them back out and add a dab of glue. Or you can make a hook in one side of that little U shape before you poke it into the clay. Working with something this small, sometimes I like the glue method. But practice that and see what you think. If you don't mind making that little hook end on one side of that loop, then it won't need glue. But this is meant to be simple. This is meant to be kind of if you haven't done a lot of wire work before or work with findings. So I try to keep it just really easy for both of us today. Anyway, you make all your loops. And I just pinch them together at the bottom like that. There you go. And I place them where I want them. Same thing with the ends. You can make them a little bit bigger, I did. And the size of your loop just depends on where you place it on your round nose pliers. So you're going to see that, if you're down at the edge where it's real small, you get a smaller loop. If you go up more toward the handle, you get a bigger loop. So I've made enough loops to hold my dangles and to hold my little chain and lobster claw in the end. So it's just super simple, but I think it looks finished and cute with this kind of small hardware. And the other advantage is, this is a small bracelet. This is a dainty bracelet, so you don't need great big giant, rings sticking out the ends or anything like that. So you'll make sure it's the way you want it. You could always move them a little bit, and if you needed to. And while it's in the oven, we're going to make our dangles. I'm going to be cooking that at 275 for an hour. And so that gives me plenty of time to play around with this. Now these dangles just could not be simpler. I've got a silver bead and then a coordinating little faceted, I think that's an 8mm bead. And then I put another silver one on top. Now see my cuticle right there? Right there? That's how I measure all my cutting for this kind of thing. Because my cuticle, so far has not moved. And that way, all the loops turn out uniform and it makes me look good. So what I do is I make a 90-degree angle. I cut it at my cuticle and I make 2 bends. And that's the big key right there, is the 2 bends. You got to let go and grab it back close to the end where you first bent it. And I'll show you again, but that's the only thing about making a nice eye pin for yourself, out of a head pin. That's the only trick to it, is you got to let go of the pliers. So you make your 90-degree angle, you make the first round bend, and then the second round bend, and then they turn out nice, and round and everything. So you want to give that a try. Maybe you do it all, all the time, but people ask me to show them, so I thought I'd just show you today. So we got the same thing. We got silver and then a color. I'm using red, blue, and turquoise today. Well, wouldn't that be pretty with just, like green and blue or green and turquoise or whatever? I'm popping on my next bead. And I'm adding the silver one at the top. And oh my gosh, you probably have tons of cute little spacer beads. I just using the plain silver today. And I'm making the 90-degree angle. Okay. And then I'm cutting it where my cuticle is, so I know it's the right length. And then I'm making one half revolution. Then I'm grabbing it back where I started, and I'm making the second revolution. And man, they just close up just right every time, It's not so hard that way. Now you can make wrap loops and lots of more secure stuff. It's a little fancier, takes a little more time. And I'm sure a lot of you are going to want to do that. This depends. So we're out of the oven here, and I'm going to pop off these stones before I remove it from the form. I find it just easier to handle when it's still on the form for stuff like that. And I'm just going to pop them onto my paper plate. They're easy enough to put back. But you remove the form then once you have them off. It just comes off like that. You just sort of breaking the suction and taking it off. We got a nice interior. It's looking good. Now, I don't sand this stuff because I don't like it. I don't like sanding, and it's hard on my hands, and I just take that tiny bit of sharp edge off with my craft knife. Okay, comes right off. It's just the tiniest of ridges. You can sand it if you want to. I've got some top coat on. I went ahead and put some clear coat. I think that's Varathane. And I did not get it down in the holes. Okay, so I didn't get it down in the holes where the stones are going to be. I just got it, down in the holes that are decorative. So now I can take my tiny dot of super glue. Now it might be Crazyglue. It's one of those kind of glues. And I'm going to I just do about 3 at a time. It stays wet long enough. Makes it go by a little quicker. And I popped the stones back in and took a 6mm jump ring, and I hung the dangles. And that's really it. Put a piece of chain, lobster claw at the end, close it up, and it was super simple. So I put links down in the description box for you. Drop me a line, busypandora@gmail.com, if you have any questions, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.